So firstly, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming and the remembrances of Pankajanghri. And just hearing some of these remembrances just really bring them to life. You know, just hearing about Chandler getting dipped in the Chandler River. I mean, it's just so Pankajangri. There's just so much what he's like. He's just so playful, but at the same time very serious. He didn't take Krishna cheaply, he didn't take Krishna's energy cheaply. He really amazing devotee. So just a few things. First off, I just wanted to, he was born in London, March 19, 1944. The day after Srivas Pandit's appearance, the day before Ekadasi. And he departed in Mayapur at 12:13 p.m. on the 4th of May, 2021. And I saw some astrologers' readings at this time, and they said it was very, very auspicious. Then when I heard that he planned to return to Mayapur from Calcutta, he was in the hospital, he had good care, etc. I thought, okay, this is, he's planning for death. So, 1971, Janasguru travelled to India looking for meaning in life and met devotees in Calcutta. I can't remember whether it was Malati or Vishaka, it was one or two. And he went to the Pandal program that they were handing out flyers for. And then he came every day and he heard Prabhupada speak. And he was convinced. And then he went to Mayapur. And he told me one time he was there, he'd been reading, I think at the time that the Chaitanya had done a translation, or was trying to do a translation of the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And he was reading this translation of Chaitanya Bhagavat, and there was one prayer that was being offered by Haridas Thakur. And Haridas Thakur was praying to Lord Chaitanya that, as long as there's breath in my body, with every fibre of my existence, I want to serve you. So Jananeshwari thought, well, that's a nice prayer. And then he went and he offered that same prayer to Radha Madhava. And lo and behold, the next day Balaram came to him and said, oh, this Pujari is leaving, you're the head Pujari now. So he listened. And then after that, when he was there, it was kind of interesting. I'll talk a little bit about Jananeshwari because as Sadhana was just saying, you can't separate them. It is, I mean, they're very different. They're so different. They're literally like chalk and cheese to me. Jananeshwari is serious, grave, very focused. Pankajanghri light, sometimes almost frivolous. He's kind of like, Pankajanghri's got the East London kind of Cockney sort of mood to him, whereas Jananeshwari is very serious, very different. But Pankajanghri also has a serious side. And when Jananeshwari went to Mayapur, the grass, the Bhajan Kuti, Prabhupada's Bhajan Kuti, that was the only building in Mayapur. And Radha Madhava were in that main room, which was Prabhupada's bedroom. And, not the bedroom, he was sort of sitting in the bedroom was the end. And then Jananeshwari and the other devotees used to live on the veranda. Jananeshwari didn't have a watch, he didn't have a clock. And so when he got up in the morning, he went down to the Ganges, he took a bath, came back, and that was Mongolaya. There was no sort of schedule or anything like that. Not like we know it now. And then at one point, Prabhupada was in Mayapur and he was speaking with Bhavananda, and he was saying, that this Jananeshwari, he's just an ordinary person. He can't do everything on his own. He needs some help. And then so Jananeshwari started to think that he wanted Pankajanghri to come because he said there's no false ego between us. He knew they'd just be able to work seamlessly together. And we've all seen, from many, many years that this has actually been the case. And Pankajanghri, when he joined ISKCON in 1972, John Undermar shared with me the other day, because I actually thought he joined in 73 at the Manor, but I wrote to John Undermar and he said that actually he joined Berry Place, the old London temple, in 1972, in the spring or summer, I can't remember which one it was, of 72. And then he was helping John Undermar because they had an incense factory there. He was helping John Undermar for a while, and then I believe from there he went to the Manor. He was at the Manor for some time, then he came to Mayapur in 1973, and it was basically there ever since. Now, I just want to, I'm not going to try and get philosophical because they're just my friends, that's all I can say. But some points from Prabhupada. There's three references Prabhupada made about both of them, and Prabhupada was just, he thought they were extempore basically. Then we enter, this is from Parisuri's diary. Then we enter straight into the temple and greet Sri Sri Radhamadhava. Also at that time, Prabhupada had given them permission to worship Shalagram Shila as well. And this was the first Shalagram that was actually formally worshipped in ISKCON. That's the Shila Janardhan. And there's an interesting story, just a little side story if I may. Janardhan's group, Prabhupada told him to go and get a Shalagram, so he didn't even know what a Shalagram was. And so, but he wanted to follow Prabhupada's instructions. He went over to Navadvip to get a Shalagram, and there was a shop selling, Shalagrams. So he bought a Shalagram and he came back. And then Prabhupada took this stone, it wasn't actually a Shalagram, and he showed him how to really worship. And it's kind of interesting, he tells the story in a very animated way, how Prabhupada was he did the whole worship, he made like what we would call a seagull wing mouth, with the, like that. And Prabhupada was talking about different things that when he finished. And then the garland slipped off. And then Prabhupada, he said to Janamash, you see that? It means he's accepted my worship. And then later on, because he'd asked Prabhupada if the Shalagram could have a flute, and Prabhupada said yes. And Janamash said, but some people say it's Narayan. And then Prabhupada said, no, I'm telling you he's Krishna. And then a little while later, Prabhupada told Balaram to go and tell him this is not a Shalagram, you can give it a Shalagram. And nonetheless, Prabhupada showed it. Then, and that was the first beginning of Mayapur. He also commented, he was seeing the standard. Also the pujaris there, these two twin brothers, Pankajangri and Prabhupada was very pleased with their work there. He said, everyone should know it, he said, they are the best. And one other time he also told Bhavananda, these two boys, they never think of sex life, they are ideal brahmacharis. So he praised them very much. He would judge by the standard of worship what was going on. He could see how nicely Sri Sri Radhamadhava were being worshipped. And he indicated that this was the best standard. And then another time in Mayapur, after the appearance day of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada they'd organised a big program built, I think it was just after the Lotus building was built. And they'd organised this big program, but not many people came. And then Prabhupada was questioning, why haven't you invited people from Calcutta? Why is there no one here? And then he said to the devotee, he said, only the deity worship program is going nicely. When referring to the two English twin brothers who are the head pujaris, Prabhupada declared, the two brothers, Pankajangri and Janagos, there is no comparison. Everyone should know there is no complaint. And there's another pastime with Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Tamal Krishna Maharaj brought up about Janagos and Pankajangri, and Prabhupada said, they are ideal. And Prabhupada said, yes, very good boys. Oh yes, they do not know except the deity, very good boys. And he said, and then Prabhupada said, therefore, he said, oh yes, therefore Krishna has brought them here to Mayapur. Previously they were advanced. All of you are simply born because the mission has to be started. So that was Prabhupada's comments. And just like my experience with them, I'll just share a few bits and pieces. Nothing really systematic or in order because I'm not very good with years. But I remember that Indra Maharaj sent me to West Bengal. At the time, both Sri Ram Maharaj and Govardhana Maharaj were worshipping these 20-inch golden deities. And the three of them have always been, for many years, been very, very close. And when they were worshipping these Indra Maharaj, he wanted to have deities like that. So then he asked me to go to Mayapur, or actually to West Bengal, and to get some of the deities made. So I did that. But I wasn't at that place all the time. Most of the time I was in Mayapur and doing regular deity worship. Janagos were training me how to worship Prabhupada and one time on the altar of Mayapur. And at that time I learned so much about deity worship from both of them. And actually what had happened before that, maybe a year before that, I came to Mayapur and I'd always sort of learned that you don't just go to the Dham and sort of hang out and enjoy the place. You go there, you do service, you chant, things like that. So I think actually my Swami was one who sort of inculcated that in me. You always go to the Dham, with his mood to serve, not to enjoy. And so I remember going there to Mayapur Dham and going and approaching, because anyone who knows the deity path, if you look at Radhamadhava's altar, then there's a stairway that goes in, there's a door on the left-hand side of the altar looking from the altar, and the stairway goes up, and there's the area where they wash the plates. Then you go around, there's another little stair at the back, and on the right-hand side is the dress room, and on the left-hand side is what used to be Janani Prabhu's room. Now they have a deity of Shiva Linga there, and they call it Shiva's room, but previously it was always Janani Prabhu's room. And then, but if you go under the altar, on the other side there's another stairway, and that was Pankajangri Prabhu's room. And so I went there every morning for 3 or 4 days, maybe a bit longer, and I said, is there any service? And so the first time I asked that, then Janani said, you can go on, because on Prabhupada's Vyasa there used to be brass lettering across the front of the Vyasa, and he said, you can polish that. So I polished that. And then the next day I came back, is there any service? And then so Janani said, yeah, because in those days they didn't have a lot of money in Mayapur, but all the jewelry was like buttons and things like that, all the rings, the finger rings and the bindis and that were just buttons of different sizes, plastic buttons, and they had a little loop at the back where you sew them on. And so he had me cut all them and file them smooth because he didn't want them to sort of push into the dog's skin and things like that. And then, a few more times I came back, and then finally the last time I came back, he said, tomorrow come and you can dress the sakis. So I did that. And then some years later, I remember Pankajangri, when I came back and he said, you're that devotee who doesn't give up. And so, he just had this,
I just had about 3 or 4 students speak before it all.
Okay. I can try, but there's a lot.
I know. Just to give everyone this story.
Yeah, sure. So we used to take prasadam together quite a lot. Janani Group actually every day while I was there. Janani Group, Pankajanghri, Former Chaitanya, and myself. Pankajanghri liked the floods. Just quiet. It was you get a chance to study, to reflect, stuff like that. And actually, I don't know Prabhu's name. I think is it Siddham? When you were telling the story about the snake, he gave me a little bit of a different explanation. The snake went around Nrsimha 3 times, and then he didn't see where it went. He's looking around. Where's the snake? He kept going. And after some time, he lifted up his doggy, and there's the snake curled up underneath his doggy. He put his leg down and continued with worship. And I was like, my God, he's got so much faith in Lord Nrsimha that he just, I'd like freak out. I don't think I could deal with that. Like, every time I come up here at night time, I've got my torch on and look around for snakes. And I remember one time going out the back here, there was a snake going down, and I was like, bloody. He just kept doing the worship. It was like extraordinary. Then when this Nrsimha established, the worship of Nrsimha was established, I remember up in the top, people were telling this story. He was going to the devotees what was required. Like a really, pucker, fix up the road. And everyone was like, oh no, I'm not doing that. This is too scary. And Pankajanghri says, I'll do it. Just like that. Just a drop of a hat. Then one time, after the Panchatattva installed, a few interesting stories of that one too. When
the last.
Yeah? Oh, how long do you want to finish?
No.
Maybe I'll show you something more interesting then. I'd rather be eating. Okay, so just a few quick things. When the Panchatattva were installed, then with the room, they built the building behind, where they call it the Panchatattva building, whatever. Then anyhow, they have their rooms there. And I remember one time they were sitting in, they were in that room, and it wasn't very well done. So Dairam and his wife wanted to renovate the room, and so they did. They put flooring in, and they actually gave them these desks and chairs. And Janani didn't like the desk, so he cut the legs off the desk and put it down low. And now he's got a high desk again. But then I remember coming in one day, and they've just got these chairs, with the 5 wheels on them. And they're in the room, they're playing dodging cars with the chairs. And just, on one on each side of the room, they push off against the wall and go bang and crash into each other. It's really playful. And just one last thing I'll say. I remember one time we did a presentation to the GBC, Janani Group, Pankajanghri and myself. And Janani and Pankajanghri walked in the room, and they just spontaneous applause. The GBC didn't say anything, they just applauded. And I was like, wow.